Steph Curry is the greatest shooter God has ever created.
When he get out his car, you better guard him right from the moment he pulls up to the arena.
We've never seen that before.
Dele almost died guarding Steph Curry.
I'm now guarding Steph 94 feet, but I had just got back from injury, so they was like, Shump, you overgassing yourself. He gonna do you.
Yeah.
That's how they was saying it. You on a minute restriction.
Yeah.
He's gonna do you.
Yeah.
Let Raymond handle
I'm
this.
willing to re-blow this wheel just to shut this motherfucker down.
I really felt like in my heart, like we are birthing an animal, bro.
Yeah.
The Warriors won 4 championships in 9 years. They changed basketball. They unlocked the greatest shooter alive. And they built something that should have lasted forever. But yet, as we sit here today, that dynasty is on the brink of collapse. And the reason behind it is what's worst about this. The Golden State dynasty hasn't collapsed because of injuries or age or even the league catching up. No, Golden State has wasted multiple years of Steph Curry's prime because of what happened inside their own walls. And it starts with the most complicated player in NBA history. And before we begin, I want to say, no matter how I feel about the guy, this channel isn't about feelings and could-haves. Draymond Green cannot be the main reason why the Warriors have collapsed, because Draymond Green is also the reason the Warriors ever became a dynasty. He unlocked the death lineup. He let Steph be Steph. He turned all-world defense into offense. He was and maybe still is the heartbeat, the spine, the communicator, the enforcer. If we are going to blame Draymond for the fall, you have to also give him full credit for the rise. If David Lee doesn't get injured, Golden State might still be a mid-playoff team. But what we do have to say about Draymond is the same fire that built this dynasty is the same fire that burned every bridge they've needed to survive. And that flame first exploded in 2016. Let's talk about the 73-9 unraveling. The first overreaction by the Warriors. Think about this. The Warriors weren't supposed to lose the 2016 finals to LeBron. They were up 3-1 with 73 wins. The greatest regular season ever recorded. But when it all collapsed in the final 3 games, Golden State made a decision that would change basketball forever. They panicked. Instead of reinforcing the greatest team of all time, they overcorrected. They didn't trust the core. They didn't trust the system. They didn't trust the culture. They chased Kevin Durant not from strength, but from insecurity. And once KD arrived, that was blatantly clear. The Warriors were no longer a team. They were a constellation. Stars orbiting around each other with no gravitational center. That center, that structure, that matters more than anyone realizes. Kevin Durant leaving Golden State wasn't the problem. KD leaving was. He wanted to stay. Think about what would have happened if he had just stayed with the Warriors. So why did he leave if he wanted to stay? Because the team had no structure for conflict. No chain of command. No, this is a line you don't cross. So when Draymond Green colorfully told Kevin Durant, we don't need you, you are a B-word, there was nobody who could do anything about it and step in. And Kevin Durant admitted that on a podcast years later. Steve Kerr couldn't step in. The front office didn't step in. Steph Curry was his usual quiet self. And guess what? The same thing repeated years later with Jordan Poole. Guess what? After winning a championship again. Draymond mentored him. Draymond uplifted him. Then Draymond punched him in the face. And once again, nobody stepped in with real authority. History didn't repeat itself. Golden State repeated itself. And here's the real truth that nobody in the Bay Area wants to confront. The Golden State Warriors have no true hierarchy, no real leader, no singular decision maker. If we look back at every dynasty in NBA history, every single one, they've had a clear leader at the top. 90s Bulls, Jordan at the top, Phil enforcing discipline, and the front office backing the system. Spurs, Popovich's military structure with Duncan as the quiet access. But still, Pop reigns supreme. The Heat, Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra running the most organized culture in basketball. LeBron James wants Eric Spoelstra fired. LeBron James gets kicked out the door. That's the way dynasties work. Even the Shaq Kobe Lakers still had Phil Jackson again at the top. But if we look at the Golden State Warriors at any time, even in this championship existence, who is their leader actually? Is it Steph? I mean, he's the superstar, the engine, the face, the best player. But he's not confrontational and never has been. He's never going to step in and do what sometimes a leader needs to do. But then, they have Draymond. He's going to give you all of that. But unfortunately, it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum. He leads only with emotion. And that same emotion has detonated 2 championship eras. But wait, is the leader the head coach Steve Kerr? He's the culture guy. But again, he doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. He's not a disciplinarian that sometimes is needed. But is it ownership? Is it GM? Who in that team is the actual leader? Nobody knows. And because nobody knows, nobody listens either. This is the real reason why the Warriors dynasty has collapsed. Not from the outside, but because the Warriors never built a real clear chain of command. And that lack of hierarchy has sabotaged every major decision since. Let's look at Andrew Wiggins, the casualty of a leaderless team. Andrew Wiggins should have been their Kawhi, their two-way wing, their successor to the aging core. And for that title run, he absolutely was. One year he saves their run, but then the next year he's completely gone in one of the strangest turnarounds. But why? Because without structure, roles don't exist. Accountability doesn't exist. Stability doesn't exist. He needed direction. He needed a real system. What he got instead was a team trying to be champions and developers at the same time, with no leader defining priorities. And if you think about the fact that Wiggins won that title with Jordan Poole being such a huge help, and then he sees what happens to Poole and nothing's done. Look at how Wiggins has been in Miami. A world of difference. But the front office's stupidity doesn't stop there. The Warriors had the number 2 overall pick, and instead of choosing a win now piece or trading it for a veteran to extend Steph's window, they drafted James Wiseman and tried to develop him during the middle of a championship chase. 2 timelines, 2 agendas, 0 clarity. Because again, nobody had the authority or gumption to say, this is Steph's era. We gotta maximize it. Why are we trying to develop a big man rookie? The Spurs chose Duncan. The Heat chose Wade. The Lakers chose Kobe. Golden State, they chose indecision. And this is why their bench has also evaporated. This is why they continually miss on veterans. This is why role players come and go with no stability. A dynasty without a clear hierarchy is a dynasty that eventually becomes confused, bloated, and directionless, like these Warriors. So now we're here, today, this season. The Warriors sit 8th in the Western Conference, and honestly, that isn't terrible. They're in a playoff spot. They're competitive. They're still dangerous in the right situation. But the truth, the uncomfortable, painful truth is, they only survive because Steph Curry goes nuclear every single night. If Steph Curry doesn't drop 30, Golden State falls apart. If he isn't superhuman, they lose to teams they used to blow out. This team can't create offense without him. They can't stabilize without him. They definitely can't function without him. He's the system, the structure, and the safety net. And at 36-year-old, with a growing injury history at 6'2", that's insane! And now, the Warriors signed Jimmy Butler? So for Steph's last prime years, instead of simplifying leadership, instead of creating clarity, instead of finally building a real hierarchy, Golden State added Jimmy Butler. A strong personality, volatile competitor, guy who has left a trail of destruction in his wake. And you think this is gonna fix the problem? No, man. It magnifies it. Because now there's another voice who's not gonna be quiet, who already has come out multiple times criticizing the organization. So again, I must ask, is Jimmy the leader? Is Draymond the leader? Is Steph the leader? Is Kerr the leader? The Warriors already had an identity crisis. Now you add Jimmy Butler? You have an identity civil war, man. So the final message, the Warriors didn't fail because Steph declined or because Klay aged or because the league caught up. They failed because a dynasty can only survive with a clear hierarchy, a chain of command, a voice everyone respects, a system everyone follows. Golden State never had that. Not truly. Not consistently. And because of that, Steph Curry, the greatest shooter God ever created, has spent years of his prime carrying a team that couldn't carry itself. The tragedy isn't that the dynasty ended. The tragedy is that it never reached the level it truly could have. And that's how Golden State wasted Steph Curry's prime back years.